Arthur, would you like to formally introduce Caroline, please?
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Carolyn Fotheringham. She's the Director of Corporate Partnerships for both Habitat GTA and Habitat Canada for 3 years now. Carolyn and her team work closely with many community groups. They help low-income families realize the pride of owning their own home. Prior to Habitat for Humanity, Carolyn spent 7 years as Senior Manager of Corporate Partnerships with Plan International. This organization is dedicated to advancing children's rights and equality for girls. Carolyn is the proud mother of 2 girls, Ashley and Erica, and also, I'm surprised, the grandmother of 11-month-old Nicholas. And we have a long connection with Habitat. We have participated in many of their building things. We've been serving breakfast when we go there. And also we have, donated money. My wife, Sarsi, worked for 10 years, over 10 years, as in Habitat Restore in Sault Ste. Marie. And she loved it so much. And 1 year, she even got the award from the mayor for the Outstanding Volunteer of the Year. And,
wow.
and I always think that it's near and dear to me because of this. Now, without further ado, Carolyn, you're on.
Do we all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, I am so very grateful. I think the initial email was from Gordon or Arthur, but I know I was communicating with you both. So very grateful to be here today. I had a big team meeting this morning, and I shared how I was going to be joining you all for a little lunch and learn. And I said, this is the most humble and best way to start off the new year. So thank you for having me. Many of you, as Arthur mentioned, just that, and I'm very well aware of all the many years of support, not just financially, but through volunteerism. We couldn't do what we do without your support. Whereby many of you may know a little bit about, I'm so sorry about that, I should have put that on silent. Many of you may know already about Habitat, but I thought what I would do is kind of give you a very high level of who we are, what we do, who we do it for, why we do it, how we do it, in that kind of way. So, and give you a little idea of what's coming up in 2021. So, okay, not moving. Oh, there we are. Okay. So a little bit about our mission. As many of you know, Habitat for Humanity GTA is a local nonprofit organization. We've got a global vision of a world where everyone has a safe and decent place to live. We mobilize, as our mission states, communities to help working, lower income families build strength and stability and self-reliance through affordable home ownership. We couldn't do it without the help of volunteers and donors and community partners. We provide a solid foundation for better, healthier lives for families in the GTA. Since 1988, we have built, Habitat GTA specifically has built 22 new communities. And it's all about providing a hand up to more than 450 families, so that parents and children can have a safe, decent, and affordable place to call home. So, huge accomplishments. So what is Habitat? Here at Habitat, we are all about a hand up and not a handout. We do not give away homes. Our families work hard and qualify and go through a lengthy application to be awarded or accepted as a Habitat family. Families who qualify are very hardworking, lower income families. We're all about a home ownership model, which I will explain a little further in detail. We're a social enterprise. Many of you may know of our Habitat Restores, and we have 12 of those locations. I don't know if, as Arthur mentioned, how Sarcy volunteered almost 10 years. But Habitat Restores, I hope you have been able, at the time when we are able to go into the stores, visit. We sell new and used donated home furnishings, appliances, and renovation materials at a fraction of the original price. We're a land developer, a builder, a volunteer services. We have an average of over 5,000 volunteers that help us on an annual basis. And we're a financial lender. So as you will see when I share a little bit about our mortgage model, you'll see how all that works. So who are our Habitat families? They are working lower income families, and they fall in between the 40 and 60th percentile of employment income. There are a large proportion of newcomers to Canada within the last 10 years. And there are 4 major criteria that we look at when we are going through applications for the several hundreds of families that apply for a Habitat home. 1, they must be currently living in core housing need. They must have the means to pay a mortgage, meaning that they are working lower income families. They must have at least 1 child under the age of 16, and they must have the willingness to partner with us. And when I say that, what we mean is, in many cases, our families will share a family story or share their journey. We may have events, and we may have members of our representatives, rather, of our families join us at the events and so forth. So much of what we do and why we call them partners is because it is in partnership with our families, with our donors, with our community members. And the next slide. So how do we make it work for our families? Really by 2 ways: through an affordable mortgage model and through preparation of 6 workshops that are mandatory that all family members, adult family members must attend. Homes are sold, as you can see, homes are sold at fair market value. The homeowner secures the first mortgage from a bank or a credit union at market rates. That amount of that first mortgage reflects no more than 32% of family income, up to a maximum of $200,000. We at Habitat GTA extend a second mortgage to homeowners for the balance at 0 interest. The term is 5 years. It's renewable to a maximum of 25 years, and no more, as I mentioned, than 32% of family household income on housing, which includes the first mortgage, property tax, home insurance, condo fees. And most importantly as well is that these families give 500 volunteers, we call sweat equity hours, as a down payment. And if you work that out, that actually comes out to about 62 full-time days at an 8-hour day. So they work very hard, and especially now during the time of the pandemic. We had to come together and think, wow, how can we help to create these volunteer opportunities since our build sites had closed down, since Restore was shut down for a bit. So we opened it up. We had families who were making masks for our volunteers. We had families going out volunteering at the food bank and so forth. So wherever they could volunteer, we were honoring all those hours to ensure to help them. And these workshops are very specific, many, to help with legal relationships, financial planning, home maintenance, many of things that maybe they didn't have to think about, as most of our families were renting prior to this opportunity. Here's a little bit about the impact on homeowners. Just so, studies show that Habitat home ownership has a positive impact on families and the community. So children's, and through the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation survey that was conducted, Children's grades improve, their confidence goes up, health improves overall with a reported decrease in asthma and an increase in families' overall quality of life. Habitat home ownership benefits the economy and decreases reliance on social support services. Habitat helps to make communities safe. We increase volunteerism and increase pride in one's community. Here's a little overview of Habitat GTA. As you may see, and I will be sharing some of our highlights of 2020, Habitat GTA and Habitat Durham joined forces in early 2020. And so our boundaries now go as far east as Clarington and certainly as far west, including Caledon and Brampton in the Peel region, and as far north as, well, I guess a little further north than Georgina. We currently have a build, and I'll be sharing that, a 6 townhome build happening in Georgina, and of course down to the water. So within this area, again, as I mentioned earlier, 22 new communities and 400 plus, or I should say 450 homes now built to date. So it's a huge population area that we now cover, and really look forward to build site opportunities to help get more families into homes. Here is give you a little idea of some of our projects that are coming up in 2021. So currently, as I mentioned, we are finishing up a 6 townhome project in Georgina, and that should be completed in February 2021. At Centertown project on the bottom right here in Oshawa, phase 5 will be completed in the summer of 2021. That's 6 townhomes, and that'll be a 24 townhome site over the course of the last 3 years. That will be the final phase be completed. So we're pretty excited about that. And coming up in Oshawa will be Normandy. That's a 50 stack townhome that will be starting in the summer of 2021. In Toronto, we're happy to have something because, as you know, land is expensive, but this is through some partnerships with the government and with developers. 383 Old Weston Road, that's at the St. Clair and Old Weston Road area. And there will be 20 stacked townhomes as part of a larger build that will be happening. And also we have another build that will be starting up in Brampton. Lots in the pipeline for 2022 and 2023 onwards. You know, as things, we were delayed due to COVID. For example, Dalton, we were hoping all our families would be moved in by the end of December of 2020 for the holidays. But 5 of our 6 were able to move in, and we have 1 more family that will, as I mentioned, get the keys to their new home in February of 2021. And this is just a little bit more, give you an idea of what our Centertown Site homes look like and where we're at, or where we were. Sorry, this is, couldn't get a current photo, but this was taken in November of 2020 at Dalton Road in Georgina. Many, as Arthur mentioned, have been on the build site and have helped us build. This is just an example, part of when I say when we work with community groups, we work with individuals, and we also work with corporate partners. And in many cases, they're looking for ways to engage their employees and come together as a team building opportunity. So in addition, what they do is they do give us a minimum donation to come out with a group of, well, hopefully when the new normal and is safely to do so, we will be able to get at minimum of groups of 10, usually up to 20, with a minimum donation. And these are all the things that they can look forward to. You know, they don't have to have any skills. Safety equipment is all provided, the construction tools. We have amazing crew leaders, and our crew leaders are all volunteers. Many of them retired and have trades experience for sure. There are those, certain essentials that we do get tradespeople in. We do hire for like electrical, the foundation. So there are some trades that definitely come in to help us with. They get a volunteer T-shirt. There's food and refreshments. We take photos of the day. That kind of gives you an idea of what happens. And in the past, we would be booked with teams from I'd say early April right to the end of November. A good 5 days a week of teams coming out to help us build. So between teams like this, between community groups and individuals, we are so very, very grateful. So how do we make it work? I kind of touched on this. As you know, cash donations, most definitely. Grateful to share product service donations, volunteer labor, our revenue from our restores. Just so you know, when the revenue from our restores actually help offset all the operating costs, so that the cash donations that we do receive, that most of that, and I could say more than 90% of that, actually goes to the builds. So, it's so important for us to maintain our restores through, and of course, through the mortgage income. And as mentioned, couldn't do it without the partnerships of our community, government, corporate, and developer partnerships. So here's a little 2020 in review. In the face of the unique set of challenges presented in 2020, Habitat GTA we tried to find ways to innovate as we adapted our operations with the health and safety, most definitely, of our community first and foremost in mind. So 38 families received the keys to their new home. Habitat Durham and Habitat GTA, as I mentioned, joined forces. We helped break barriers for women in construction. So on International Women's Day, we hosted a build for female trainees at Centertown, and we're pleased to be joined by 15 women from the Building Up's pre-apprenticeship program. So very, very excited to be able to have a dedicated day for these women. We opened up a new Habitat Restore in Etobicoke. It is over 16,000 square feet, and it marks the largest retail space to date that we've ever had in history for habitats across Canada. And we, we did start with an e-commerce, so Restore online early in the year. Due to COVID, within 2 weeks, that was vamped up real quickly. So we're very excited to have our Restore online shopping all launched. We were there for our partner families through COVID. When COVID-19 was declared, and it's important that I share, we immediately reached out to our hundreds of Habitat homeowners to remind families of our commitment to offering temporary mortgage relief. Remarkably, only 8% of our Habitat homeowners requested mortgage reductions, which is a true testament to their resiliency. So very proud to share that. We also found, as I mentioned, new ways to connect with our families. Our family services team came up with creative solutions. And one of the things to share is, and I did touch on it, was a mother and daughter, Maya and Nicole, as we call them a mother-daughter duo. And they're going to be moving into one of our future projects. She goes, "We have been sewing masks to donate to local healthcare facilities as well as family and friends," said Nicole. "My husband cuts the fabric and measures and ties the elastics, and I do the sewing. we decided to make 100 cloth masks to distribute to Habitat volunteers as part of our sweat equity. And that's a little testimonial from one of our Habitat homeowners. As I mentioned, we took the Habitat Build Day, actually, because we couldn't have teams on site online. This past October, we launched our first ever Everyone Build. It was a virtual 4-week event to support local habitat building projects. It was inspiring to see how our community came together and participated in at-home challenges and shared videos to help bring the build site experience online. So I'm sure you're all very aware of so much has become virtual. Very much of what we need to do in 2021 is we've had to, as we work on our fundraising, planning and so forth for 2021 onwards, is how do we engage people virtually, being that we may not have those volunteer opportunities on site. And we also, as we all know, diversity and inclusion has been a big topic that has come to the forefront, and rightfully so. 2020 has reinforced that there's a lot more work to be done to create a just and equal society. And at Habitat GTA, our connection to our mission deepened around that notion that racialized populations are disproportionately impacted by the lack of affordable housing options in our region. So a focus that will be at the forefront as we move forward in 2021 and beyond. So what 2021 has in store as we look ahead, we're excited about what 21 has in store for us. There will be 10 active projects which are set to get underway that include a mix of habitat builds and habitat homes delivered through developer partnerships. Each project will be at a different stage throughout the year, from site work to volunteers on site and families receiving keys to their finished homes. Again, much of this dependent on where we are at with the current pandemic. In total, the impact of our 2021 projects will be 166 working families in need of a decent place to live becoming habitat homeowners. And 2020 will definitely go down in history in so many ways, but at Habitat GTA, we are thankful to have been able to stay true to our mission of helping families build strength and stability and self-reliance through homeownership. Every Habitat house changes lives, those of the families who call them home and those who build them. And we can't thank you enough. And just before we open questions, I do want to share a huge thank you on behalf of Habitat for Humanity to the Rotary Club of Scarborough and all members. You know, as Arthur mentioned, for the years of support, for volunteerism. You know, I personally, when Arthur, when you mentioned about making breakfast, I personally enjoyed the pancake breakfast in 2019 at our Women Build. So that was like, what was it, 10? I think 10 straight days at our Pinery Trail location, which I don't know if you all know, we actually completed a 50 stack townhome community, and that was over 3 phases over 3 years. So very excited. That's our largest build to date for Habitat GTA. So I, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your donation. I thank you for your volunteerism. When I shared with everyone that I'd be speaking with you all today, they were hoping that maybe we might be able to arrange a breakfast with colleagues. You know, we are all missing each other at Habitat, and we tried in the summer to have a little lunch at our big warehouse outside and socially distanced, and we set up tables and you know, and when I mentioned this, they said, well, maybe we can do that with the Rotary Club, something like that again in the summer. So again, from the bottom of our hearts at Habitat, we thank you all. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to help or to respond to any questions you may have. There we go. We all see each other again.
I have a question.
Thank you.
And I have a question. It's about the financial end. You said that initially the new potential owners have to come up with a $200,000 mortgage, and then Habitat will top up the remainder.
Yeah.
How do you determine what? Did you base the price of the home on the cost of the home, or you mentioned market value? That's got to be very difficult market value to evaluate on a daily basis, especially these days.
Yeah, so it doesn't fluctuate from day to day, but there is when a site is going to be built, we will come to a determination of what that fair market value will be, and then from that, and as you know, as I mentioned, our families really fall into that 40 to 60 percentile of income brackets. So I can tell you that the average family income based on a home will differ if it's a home in Durham or a home in certainly in the core of Toronto. But the average is anywhere between total family, between $60,000 and $80,000. And so what happened, and the 32% and no more than $200,000. So I can, when families do qualify, we work with them, with the banks. We work really hard before they even get there, so that nobody is surprised once they actually have the conversations with their bank or whom we may refer them to, or a credit union. So they're fully prepared.
Courtney, I think you had your hand up a while ago. Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so very much, Caroline, for the presentation. Two questions, I guess. I know that the City of Toronto recently did the modular homes down on Macy Avenue. And I think that my sense of the modular homes is that it's a bit of a game changer in terms of lowering the cost, but the quality of the housing remains very high. And so I guess the question is will Habitat be looking at modular homes going forward? And I guess my second question would be, in terms of sweat equity, is the sweat equity delivered exclusively around Habitat's projects, or is sweat equity connected to other charities within the community?
Yes, so thank you. Great question. So with the first question, absolutely. If I were to share with you what our 5-year plan is, what we call framing the future, we are definitely looking at many different options. We have to, with the cost of homes and land and so forth, and to be in order to serve the families that that we are all about. Yes, modular homes are something we are looking at. We touched on, do we think about possible rent to own? I don't know, but hence why many different partnerships that we're having with developers. So with the housing strategy, the federal, on all 3 levels, both whether that be federal, provincial, or municipal, the 10-year housing strategy really commits developers to a percentage of their build to affordable housing. And so we are in that space, and I have to say, our CEO says never has there been a time where many developers who are actually building will commit a percentage of what they're building and give that to Habitat in order to house lower income families.
To think about.
So that's to your first question. So yes, we are looking at modular homes. As to the sweat equity, originally it was 500 hours with work. They would be volunteering, whether it be at a Habitat office or on the build site. Many of them we've built side by side with our partner families, or they'd be volunteering in the restore. But just as I mentioned, understanding the current situation that we're in, we honor volunteerism with any organization. So if they choose to volunteer at the food bank or wherever at their local community, a local community organization, we absolutely will. We have families that are helping us put together a Habitat cookbook. So even just by providing recipes, we're giving them volunteer hours. So we are very much working with them. And it's important that they work hard on their volunteerism. As I mentioned, this is a hand up, not a handout.
Hey, Danny, you had a question, then Peter?
Coming from the HVAC industry, one of our major concerns, or sometimes our major concern, was the cost of health and safety and workers' comp. With so many unskilled volunteers coming in, how do you handle the health and safety?
So health and safety is a number one priority, and happy to say, when you say that, and I know I mentioned no skills required, what I do want you to know is that when we have, first of all, there are the skilled and licensed tradespeople. Our crew leaders are skilled tradespeople. And the individuals that do come on, they are divided in small groups. So the type of work that they would be doing, and I'll take safety in two separate matters. One is the environment, the safety environment that we're in, but two, even for personally for individuals. They are divided in smaller groups and are instructed by the crew leaders. And some of the work that they would be doing would be like painting, helping us put insulation in, some drywalling, flooring, that type of work. Prior to anyone coming on site, they must go through a safety video. There are questions that are asked, and that must be completed before anyone could come on site. All the safety equipment is provided on our part. First aid is on site. And as for we have regular spot checks from the city and inspectors that come on site. Does that help a bit, Danny?
Yeah. It was just that inspectors are coming in all the time from Labour Board, from Health and Safety, and they do treat volunteers differently from company workers. I know that they do. Yeah.
Peter, you had a question?
Yes, I had a question, or at least a point. I did a little research before you arrived, and I noticed that in December past, the government of Canada has made an announcement that $40 million is coming to Habitat, not just GTA, but across it, to build another 200. Would you like to expand on that?
Sure.
Just,
so
that's quite a Christmas present.
For sure. So that is a 3-year partnership, and it is a matching partnership. So they've committed, the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation has committed to $40 million in projects right across Canada, not just in the GTA. And whereby, so for example, if a project, it will cost us, I'm just going to throw a dollar out there, $1 million, for example, we can apply for up to 40% of those dollars as long as we can match those dollars. So what that has done for us is at least certainly made available the funds to be able to access. It helps us also work with corporations who are looking to donate and looking at, so when they say we'd like to commit to $30,000, if that's part of the CMHC project that we are working with, then that means $60,000 to us.
Oh, great.
So yeah, that's how it works. It's more of a kind of a matching program.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, just as a follow-up question, so you mentioned the monies across Canada and CMHC involvement and your diversity and inclusion thrust. Do you build houses on First Nation reserves?
We do. We actually have. I could have gone in that route within the organization. We have an Indigenous housing partnership. So we absolutely do have a program, and I'm very proud to say, even at Centertown in Oshawa, the last phase that they just moved in October of 2020, 3 of the 4 families were Indigenous families. And in Georgina, 1 of our 6 families is an Indigenous family working with the Chippewa First Nations. So yes, we have an Indigenous housing program, a partnership right across Canada.
So you build on reserves?
Yes, not here in Ontario, but we have out west, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Caroline, I have a comment and a question. First of all, just in case you get a request from the Rotary Club of Scarborough to come and talk, that's not us. We're the Rotary Club of North Scarborough.
North Scarborough, okay.
Because if you get a request in 2 weeks' time from the Rotary Club of Scarborough, I mean, we think you're absolutely brilliant, but I don't think you want to come back again in 2 weeks necessarily. So just so you know. And my question is, you mentioned that you opened a rehab store in Etobicoke, I think it was. Do you know how many stores you've closed? Because I live in Markham and there was one local one here that closed down. I think it was pretty much just around the start of COVID. So,
So we originally had 13 stores. So Etobicoke opened, but we had a store in Bolton close, and we had a store out in Markham close. And I mean permanently closed. During COVID, yes, all the stores actually closed. All offices were closed and temporarily closed. We were at 90% of our staff were all laid off at the beginning. And then, slowly we were able to reopen the stores. Right now they are on lockdown as well, and it's only our e-commerce online platform that is open. So we do have very fortunate staff and some volunteers that are in store, and it's managed very safely to help us with our online distribution while our doors are closed.
okay, thank you. All right. Now, I believe, Peter, you want to thank Caroline, please, formally?
Yes, and first I want to thank Arthur for inviting you to come and to introduce you. He and I have, amongst others, have been very supporting the program because we really believe in it, and I'm sure the presentation you've given today will be reflected in the future with all of our participation, flipping pancakes and sending texts and so on. We are very supportive of the program and wish you the best in the year ahead for everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Caroline. Caroline, as I mentioned to you in the email, you're welcome to hang around, so to speak, but I'm sure you're busy, so if you want to leave, we understand.
No worries. I will head out. I'm very grateful, and please let me know if you'd like. I can share the presentation. I can forward that to you both, Arthur and Gordon, and if anyone would like that, more than welcome.
Okay, well, as I mentioned to you and you gave us permission, you will be up on YouTube, so.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. Like it or not, you'll be a star.
No, she does like it. I got her permission to do it.
Yeah, you did. Well, that'll be a first for me, so there you go.
Well, we can send you the link for it if you like.
I would love that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. We'll
Have
do
a
that.
wonderful
Nice.
XCs all.
Thanks,
Stay
Brenda.
safe and
Thank you.
healthy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Nice to see you.